Welcome to From Dorms to Desks, job hunting tips for those early in their careers, a podcast brought to you by College Recruiter job search site, which believes that every student and recent grad deserves a great career, and hosted by Work Defined. Join our AI co-hosts as they dive into tips, tricks, and insights that will help you land your next part-time, seasonal, internship, or entry-level job. Let's get your career started.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are putting on our financial analyst hats.
We are.
We're going to have a really high-value discussion, and this one's tailored specifically for students, for new graduates, anyone who's about to get their first professional job offer.
Or maybe just got one.
Right, or just got one. And our mission today, really, is to help you secure maximum value from the asset that is, well, you. Mm-hmm. We're going to do this by maximizing your total compensation, or TC, and by adopting the mindset of, like, a seasoned talent acquisition insider.
That's the key, the mindset.
Because the data from our sources is just so clear. Most new professionals leave thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars on the table. Mm-hmm. They just treat that initial offer as the final word.
Instead of the opening bid, which is what it is.
Exactly.
And that mindset shift is, well, it's everything. Let's just confirm the core insider truth right from the start. Recruiters, the people extending the offer, they don't just expect you to negotiate. They actually budget for it. They build buffers into their initial offers because they know that high-caliber candidates are going to counter.
So we can just set aside the fear. The fear that we'll be seen as greedy or that they'll just pull the offer.
Yes.
Because that's the number one anxiety for a new grad.
It is, but you can set it aside. Absolutely. Provided, of course, you're being thoughtful and strategic. A well-justified counterproposal is actually seen as a positive signal.
A positive one? How so?
It shows confidence. It shows you're strategic, that you have some financial sophistication. It's almost like a soft test that they want you to pass.
Huh. So when does it become a red flag then?
Only when the request is wildly aggressive or just totally disconnected from reality.
Okay, can you give us a quick example of an unrealistic request?
Sure. So asking for a $20,000 sign-on bonus on a standard, say, $60,000 entry-level salary, that's going to raise some eyebrows. It's just not customary. But asking for maybe a $5,000 sign-on to help with relocation costs,
that's okay.
That is standard operating procedure. Totally normal.
Okay, so let's unpack this strategic mindset, because that's really the foundation of total compensation. Our sources all highlight the number one amateur mistake.
Which is?
That singular obsessive focus on the base salary, on what we're calling the fixed value.
That's right. The base salary is the most rigid part of your compensation. It is the hardest one to move in any significant way.
And why is that? Why can't a company just pay me, say, $10,000 more in salary if they really want me?
Well, it's because it's a fixed recurring cost that lasts your entire tenure, and it's constrained by forces outside of your specific negotiation.
Forces like what?
Primarily internal equity. So the company has to maintain fair pay structures. If they give you, the new hire, a salary that's way higher than someone hired 6 months ago for the same role.
That creates problems.
Big problems. It creates internal friction, retention issues, and they also have to stick to industry benchmarks, geographical cost of living data. If they break those rules for one person, the precedent is set.
And it costs them a lot more in the long run.
Exponentially more. So if you push that base salary up, you've just increased their guaranteed recurring liability. Forever. That's a huge deterrent for them.
I see. So if that fixed value, the salary, is mostly immovable, where do we actually focus our energy? Where's the leverage?
You pivot. You pivot entirely to the variable value. This is the primary leverage point, especially for a new grad, because this pay is tied to performance or short-term incentives.
Okay, so things that don't impact that long-term budget.
Exactly. It's upside potential, it's assets, it's one-time things.
So let's start with the low-hanging fruit in that variable category. You already mentioned the sign-on bonus.
The sign-on bonus, yes. Okay. It's often the easiest component to negotiate for a new graduate. Because it's a one-time cash payment, it's just fiscally efficient for the company.
It solves your immediate need, right? Relocation, first month's rent.
All of that. And it doesn't commit the company to decades of higher payroll or benefits calculations or matching contributions. It's clean.
Excellent advice. So prioritize that immediate cash. Now let's talk about long-term assets, which is where things get really interesting, especially in tech. Equity, RSUs.
Right, restricted stock units. This is a huge area where so many new grads don't really grasp the true value. RSUs are not stock options. They are actual units of company stock.
But there's a catch.
There's a catch. They come with a crucial condition, the vesting schedule.
Okay, explain that. Because if you can't access it, you can't really count it, right?
Exactly right. So a typical vesting schedule might be 4 years with a 1-year cliff. That means you get 25% of your total stock grant after your first year. That's the cliff.
And after that?
Then the remaining 75% vests, usually monthly or quarterly, over the next 3 years. This is why it's a long-term asset. The company is literally paying you to stay.
Because if you leave before that 1-year cliff,
you get nothing. Zero.
Yeah.
So when you negotiate for more RSUs, you're really negotiating for exponential growth over the next 4 years. Your portfolio is tied directly to the company's success.
Okay, so if base salary is inflexible, pushing for more RSUs seems like a much smarter financial move.
It's a much smarter negotiation lever. Next up, you have the performance bonus.
And if you're offered one, you need to dig a little deeper than just the target percentage.
Yes, you absolutely have to ask about the historical payout rate.
Why is that so important?
Because it gives you the real insight into what your TC will actually be. You have to ask about the target percentage. Let's say it's 10% of your base salary. And then ask, what has the historical payout rate been for this role over the last few years?
And if the target is 10%, but they only ever pay out 2%?
Then your TC calculation has to reflect that 2% reality, not the promised 10% potential. If you don't ask, you're valuing that part of your offer completely wrong.
Got it. Okay, so we've covered cash, we've covered assets. Let's pivot to what I think is the most underrated part of any offer, the intrinsic value.
Yes. This is where you start assigning a measurable, untaxed dollar value to things like benefits, growth, and quality of life.
And this is where the strategic hires really separate themselves from the, paycheck chasers.
100%.
You're tuning into the Careering with Cameron podcast, your safe place for asking all the dumb questions about finding a job. This is the place for you to get a clear, step-by-step roadmap for your career journey, including things you haven't even thought of. If you're a bright, data-driven individual in a STEM field who struggles with people skills, or you're just finishing college and wondering what's next, you are in the right place. My goal is to help you feel ready and empowered, not just apply for positions, but find work that truly aligns with your passions. I do what I do because I believe no one should have to navigate this alone. For 20 years, I was on the other side of the desk as a recruiter. I saw what worked, what didn't, and why. Now, as an ICF certified professional coach, I'm bringing the insight to help you, helping you think like a recruiter so you can land the job you want. Each week, I'll be bringing you actionable advice on everything from best practices for resume writing to what you could ask in your interview. Be sure to subscribe and rate 5 stars if you enjoy the podcast so others can too. Also, make sure to follow us over on Careering with Cameron and visit our website at www.talent-connect.net. See you October 15th, where episode 1 will be released to discuss the number 1 reason why you're not getting a job.
Candidates gloss over this, but these intrinsic components are direct financial transfers that you don't pay tax on. That makes them instantly more valuable than the same amount in salary.
So give us that concrete example from the sources. How do we assign a dollar value to, say, financial security?
Let's use health insurance. The amateur just looks at the overall coverage. The strategic approach focuses on the immediate financial hit. What is the monthly premium and what is the annual deductible?
Right.
Our source gives a great example. If Company A covers $500 more of your monthly premium compared to Company B, that's $6,000 over the year.
And that $6,000 is untaxed.
Exactly. And untaxed matters so much. If you negotiated a $6,000 raise to your base salary, you'd lose, 30% of that? Maybe more? To taxes.
So to actually take home $6,000, you'd need to ask for more, like $8,500.
Right. But the $6,000 in benefit subsidy, you get 100% of that. It's just a significantly superior form of leverage.
Wow, that totally changes the math on those hidden costs. What about the guaranteed free money component, the 401k match?
Another mandatory item for your TC calculation. If a company matches 100% up to 3% of your $60,000 salary, that is a guaranteed $1,800.
So you have to value that $1,800 as part of the offer.
You have to. But just like RSUs, new grads must ask about 401k vesting. Some companies have a 3 to 5 year vesting schedule on the match. If you leave early, you could forfeit all that free money they put in.
That's a huge detail.
Yeah.
Okay, connecting this back to what our sources say about Gen Z prioritizing skill stacking and work-life integration, What intrinsic values speak to professional growth?
Well, there's the learning and development budget, the L&D budget. Companies love to support this. They see it as an investment in you that pays dividends for them.
Because it accelerates your time to impact.
Exactly. It increases your future value. Negotiating a dedicated L&D budget is almost always an easier win than fighting for more base salary.
And what about paid time off, PTO? Is that still fair game for a new hire to negotiate?
Yes, it is. It's an acceptable negotiation tactic, but you have to frame it strategically.
So instead of, I want more vacation,
you frame it as a component for sustained peak performance. You say that more rest translates directly to greater engagement, lower burnout risk, which is a key value proposition for the company.
I like that. And finally, what about tuition reimbursement?
Oh, that's a massive one. For anyone with student loan debt or plans for an advanced degree, securing tuition reimbursement is a huge tax-advantaged financial win.
So this all boils down to knowing what to ask for. But now we need to talk about our currency. As a new grad, you don't have a decade of experience. What do you use to justify asking for more?
Your currency is quantifiable impact. That's it. Recruiters are evaluating the return on investment, the ROI that you were expected to deliver. They don't want a list of your do's.
They want proof of results.
Proof of results, validated accomplishments.
Okay, so this is where we bring in the A plus Q formula. Action, verb, plus a quantifiable result. I want you to walk us through this because this feels like the tool that turns an average applicant into a high potential asset.
Let's contrast the two approaches. The amateur approach on a resume looks like this. Manage social media account for a student organization. It's passive. It's a duty.
So what's the strategic approach using A plus Q?
The strategic approach transforms that into, I executed a full funnel digital strategy that increased engagement by 45% and drove 200 event signups.
Wow. The difference is staggering.
It's night and day. You're showing you moved the needle on specific, measurable business metrics.
That's clear for something like marketing.
Right.
But what if my experience is less obvious, like a research assistant or a volunteer role?
You apply the same formula. So if you were a research assistant, the amateur line is, supported a professor's research project. The strategic line is, I analyzed 150 data sets using Python, identifying a 12% error rate in previous calculations, which accelerated the project timeline by 4 weeks.
That's great. It shows critical thinking and a measurable impact, even on a timeline. What about soft skills like leadership?
Turn them into hard numbers. Don't say trained new tutors. Say, I developed and implemented a training curriculum for 10 new peer tutors that resulted in a 25% improvement in client satisfaction scores over 2 semesters.
It all comes back to the data.
This quantified data is essential. It proves you understand impact and ROI, and that is the only thing that justifies moving those variable and intrinsic levers.
Okay, so we've calculated our full worth, we've found our leverage points, and we have our A plus Q data ready. Let's finish with the most actionable part. The realistic wins and the actual scripting for the counterproposal.
Perfect. We've identified 3 realistic, high-impact levers for a new grad that tie directly back to that value proposition we just built.
What's number 1?
Number 1, the sign-on bonus. This is your best bet for cash, and the script has to link that cash request back to your skills.
So something like,
to secure my commitment and offset my relocation costs, I propose a one-time $X sign-on bonus, aligning with the significant value my quantified project management skills will bring in the first quarter.
You're justifying the cash with immediate ROI. I love it. What's number 2?
Number 2, the L&D investment. You show that you're committed to accelerating your time to impact.
Which they love to hear.
They do. So the script is, I am committed to accelerating my time to impact. I request a dedicated $1,000 L&D budget for my first year to immediately pursue a specific certification.
Naming the certification is key. It shows you're already thinking strategically.
And finally, that quality of life component, PTO, framed strategically.
Number 3, PTO or flexibility. You frame it as a performance metric. Given the anticipated workload and my commitment to sustaining peak performance, I would like to confirm 3 weeks of annual PTO, which is vital for long-term productivity. Okay, and here is the final non-negotiable process tip from all the source.
Ah, yes, the big one.
Never, ever accept the first offer on the spot. Take 24 to 48 hours. Compose a polite, strategic email that uses that A plus Q data to justify your counter-ask.
And remember, negotiation, when it's done correctly, signals strategy, confidence, and self-respect. These are qualities that recruiters fight to hire.
Your objective isn't just to take the paycheck.
It's to strategically secure your long-term asset value.
That distinction, securing the asset versus taking the paycheck, that is the key takeaway. Shifting from the rigid fixed value to leveraging the high return, often untaxed variable and intrinsic values.
Right, and remember, the biggest failure in any negotiation is simply not asking. If you don't ask, the answer is guaranteed to be no.
So for you, our listener, here's a final thought to mull over as you prepare for your next move. Start documenting your achievements now. What specific, non-traditional quantified result are you most proud of?
Whether that was a summer job, a research project, a volunteer initiative.
All right, what's something you can immediately leverage using that A plus Q formula to justify a higher offer in your very next negotiation?
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this has empowered you to negotiate your worth and understand your true total compensation.
This has been From Dorms to Desks, job hunting tips for those early in their careers. A podcast brought to you by College Recruiter job search site, which believes that every student and recent grad deserves a great career. Each episode, we dive into tips, tricks, and insights that will help you land your next part-time, seasonal, internship, or entry-level job. Subscribe to this podcast for free now, so you don't miss an episode, and visit www.collegerecruiter.com to find your next great job.